Is that mine?
I know, I'll do it first and then you can go.
Right.
I would say there are two big issues, and that is both related to technology advancement. Things are coming fast and heavy at monitoring companies, at security companies, integrating AI responsibly and tackling video monitoring. Both technology issues are really important for the industry.
Yeah, what I would say is monitoring centers for decades have been highly redundant rooms that have been responsible for monitoring property and life safety, which generally was an alarm system and fire systems. And the SOPs to do that were crystal clear across the entire industry. What new technologies are actually doing is changing the culture of the room from a room that had very strict SOPs to real live response centers. And so it's an exciting time in the industry, because to the consumer, security's never been more important. But as TMA, what we're trying to understand and represent best for the people of TMA is how to provide those services reliably and safely for their customers.
I would say, our public safety partners are more so than at any time overloaded and under-resourced. So it's really our responsibility in the security industry and as TMA to build that partnership, make sure that we provide resources that help public safety put together the standards and processes that will reduce false alarms and, speed up response times.
Yeah, I would add that security systems for decades have been the best way for a consumer to protect their property from loss. And of course, fire systems are heavily regulated and installed in commercial buildings and hotels around the world. The problem has been a limited amount of information being delivered into a monitoring center, which oftentimes ended up becoming a response that may not have been correct because the necessary information wasn't available to monitoring agents during what could be a critical time. For example, receiving a fire alarm in a hotel would result in the immediate dispatch of fire department when it could be a child that pulled a pull station or a false alarm from a smoke detector. Instead of thinking of just what video is going to do to our industry, one has to really say, how are many different technologies going to be data points that are going to come into these monitoring centers and help provide a more accurate outcome for the customer?
That one's yours.
Great question. What's ready for prime time is detection. Cameras today, if you think of them like a motion detector, can accurately detect at distances and can also classify that detection as if it's human or a vehicle. That, believe it or not, can be done on the edge with cameras that are relatively inexpensive. And so that's ready for prime time, and monitoring centers today are deploying that type of technology globally. Now, AI is just at its infancy stages of what that's going to become, of pulling in and being able to understand, behavior analysis from suspicious behavior from normal. But today, ready for prime time, the camera and being able to detect much like a motion detector would. Now, if you walk through this show floor, as you mentioned, it's cameras, and AI. There's only a handful of companies where you're going to find an alarm panel. And if you're in the security industry, you know that alarm panel's the heart of your business. I don't see a time where the alarm panel's not needed and necessary, because it is a very reliable product. But it's all these complementary data points that are going to be added to that are going to prove the outcome for the customer and for responding agencies.
I think the big thing there is training and making sure that we have the right training for operators, so that when companies hire, and they have to hire regularly for new employees, they can get them up to speed quickly. In addition, we're looking at credentialing opportunities that will allow companies to know that the people they are hiring, what kind of skill sets they have, and have benchmarks for the necessary skill sets for monitoring professionals. advocacy continues to be extremely important. The major issue that we're working on this year is protecting the 900 megahertz band to make sure a lot of the software and hardware is on this band, and there have been some efforts to take that over, to privatize that. We want to make sure that fire alarms, smoke alarms, security systems all continue to work. So that'll be our big advocacy push this year.
Yeah, I don't think I would add anything to that other than we please understand that the work that's being done is really important, and it's the work that TMA does to advance these things are things that allow the common person that installs security systems to go and do his job and feed his family. And this work continues. So if you think that's important to you, we would love your involvement of getting involved and more intimately understanding these challenges in front of the industry, because these are not TMA problems. They're industry problems that TMA is addressing on behalf of the industry. What I would answer it with kind of a story. You know, in the industry, I've been in the industry 40 years, and it seems like at events like this, you always meet someone, and that always comes up, how long have you been in the industry? And what I would say to people that are in the alarm or the security industry, that statement today is probably the best time to rethink it. Because the people that still think 40 years ago might not be the people that are going to best help your business advance. The foundational ways that we are providing security today and in the near future are going to be very different than how we did it 10 years ago. So maybe the people that are going to help you be successful in this space don't even work for you yet. There's a lot of young, hungry people that understand the newer technologies much better than the seasoned veterans that we've built businesses on. And trying to find those people and in one way, give them the consistency and the importance of what we do in the security and life safety industry, but then also begin to understand the transition that will inevitably need to take place in the business.
So I would say it's important to be thinking about your people always. Do you have the right people? Are you training them appropriately? Are you keeping up to date with what's hitting the market? Obviously here at ISC West, there's a lot of things on the market. And so it can be a lot of information to process. So also keeping in mind that you have to think about data privacy, cybersecurity. Those are issues that are incredibly important. So when something is shiny and new, how is data being used? How do you integrate that into your processes, and keeping all those pieces in mind?
I would say maybe specifically if you're a company that's walked this show for decades, what I would say is it's probably an ideal time for you to consider the different tech stacks you're using in the verticals that you're successful in. Many of your technicians may be aging out, or your technical support people that you were heavily dependent on because of all these legacy systems. You need to work with a company that's able to support you in a tech stack that your tech support team and your installers and your whole organization can support. Because I know in our company, for example, we've had to hire young, smart kids in our technical support team, but they're 24 and 5 years old. And we have access control systems that are older than they are, right? So when you start talking to them about a system that's 25 years old, it's like they're frightened. But there's a lot of great technologies out today and companies that have the ability to provide AI assistance for support teams. So what I would say when you're coming in is understand what technology companies that you want to partner with, because companies have built, every company that's been successful in the security industry has done it on recurring revenue models. So video, for example, is a one of those models or one of those verticals that companies didn't have a good recurring revenue model for video. And so they're out selling systems, and what happens is that video system's not paying any recurring revenue, but we have to continue to maintain it for years. So a company finds it burdensome to provide service on a product that's not generating any recurring revenue. So kind of finding that balancing act in all verticals, fire, access control, video, and of course intrusion, and partnering with the right company that can make you dependent on a technology and not a person would be probably the best advice I would have, because it's certainly the time to kind of possibly make that change if you're with legacy partners who are not advancing the way they should.